Vittorio Amara had eaten dinner at the same corner table of Bellucci's every Thursday night for 11 years, and in 11 years, nobody had ever been foolish enough to try anything inside those walls. He was a heavy-set man in his 50s, forearms and neck covered in ink that told anyone who knew how to read it exactly what kind of life he'd lived. A dagger wrapped in rosary beads on his throat, a full sleeve of saints and skulls running down his right arm, the number of a cell block he'd survived tattooed small and deliberate behind his left ear. Men who worked for him respected the ink the same way they respected his silence. Both meant the same thing. Vittorio had earned every mark on his body the hard way, and he had never once needed to raise his voice to remind anyone of that. The new waitress, a slight, quiet young woman named Noemi, who had started at Bellucci's only 3 weeks earlier, had never once acknowledged that she was serving a man half the city was afraid of. She refilled his water without being asked, corrected his order once when the kitchen sent out the wrong cut of veal, and otherwise treated him with the same brisk, unimpressed efficiency she gave every other table in the restaurant. Vittorio, who had spent 30 years surrounded by people either terrified of him or performing loyalty they didn't feel, found something almost restful in her total indifference to who he was. He had no idea, that Thursday night, that Noemi's indifference wasn't naivety. It was training. The 6 men came in through the kitchen entrance at 8:40 p.m., dressed as delivery staff, weapons concealed beneath jackets that didn't quite fit the uniforms they were wearing. They were sent by a rival organization out of the Western Docks, a crew that had spent the last 4 months losing ground to Vittorio's expansion into territory they considered theirs by birthright, and they had concluded, after months of failed negotiation, that the fastest way to reclaim it was to remove the man at the center of it entirely. It should have worked. Vittorio's usual security detail, 2 men who normally flanked his booth, had been delayed by a car accident 2 blocks away, an accident that had not been an accident at all, engineered precisely to create the 90-second window the 6 men needed. Vittorio saw them the moment they cleared the kitchen doors, recognized the wrongness in how they moved before he could have named exactly what was wrong, and understood, with the flat certainty of a man who had survived exactly this kind of night twice before in his life, that he had perhaps 4 seconds before the first weapon cleared its holster. He did not get the chance to do anything with those 4 seconds. Noemi moved first. She crossed the space between the service station and Vittorio's table in a blur that didn't match anything about the quiet, unremarkable young woman who had been refilling water glasses 10 seconds earlier. The first man through the door went down before his weapon fully cleared his jacket, Noemi's elbow catching him beneath the jaw with a precision that spoke of years of training, not weeks of waitressing. The second man got a hand on his weapon and nothing further, because Noemi had already closed the distance, redirected his arm into the doorframe hard enough to break something, and put him on the ground beside the first. The remaining 4 scattered instinctively, the way men do when the situation in front of them stops making sense, and that hesitation cost them everything. Noemi moved through them with a controlled, almost bored efficiency, taking the third man's legs out from under him, catching the fourth across the throat with the flat of her hand, hard enough to drop him without permanently damaging him, disarming the fifth so completely and so fast that he was still trying to understand what had happened to his own weapon when she used it, unloaded, to strike him across the temple. The 6th man ran. He did not get far. Vittorio's real security detail, delayed but not stopped, arrived through the front entrance in time to catch him in the parking lot, still trying to process what he'd just watched happen to 5 armed men inside a restaurant he'd been told would be an easy job. The entire encounter, from the moment the kitchen doors opened to the moment the last man hit the ground, had taken 11 seconds. Vittorio sat in his booth, untouched, his water glass still full, staring at Noemi as she straightened her apron and calmly began stacking the fallen men's weapons on an empty table, the way another server might stack dirty plates. "You want to explain who taught you that," he said, "or should I just be grateful?" Noemi glanced at him, the first real acknowledgement she'd given him in 3 weeks that she understood exactly who he was. "Military police, 6 years. I left when I stopped believing the people I was protecting deserved it." She nodded toward the men groaning on the floor. "I took this job because I needed quiet, and because Bellucci's doesn't ask questions about resumes. I wasn't planning on this." Vittorio studied her for a long moment, The particular calculation of a man who had spent his entire adult life evaluating who could be trusted and who couldn't, and who had just watched, in 11 seconds, more discipline and control than most of the armed men on his own payroll displayed in a year. "The job you have now," he said, "isn't the job you're going to have tomorrow." Noemi didn't smile, didn't protest, didn't perform gratitude she didn't feel, which was exactly the response Vittorio had come to expect from her, and exactly the response that told him, more than the 11 seconds ever could, that he'd found something rare.